Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Oh, and away we do go. 13 wins now. We will explain Phil's absence in a second. But before we do that, because Mackey's not here, we don't have Ode to Joy. But screw that. It's not going to stop the flag from waving. So here it goes, folks.
You can hear it. You can hear it.
Here it goes. Yeah, just imagine Ode to Joy in your mind. That's exactly right. There we go. The flag waves because the Vikings are 13-2. Tied with Detroit atop the NFC North. Well, heck, forget that. Atop the NFC. Philadelphia lost to Washington yesterday, so things continue to go pretty doggone well for the Vikings. It's Judd, it's Declan. Phil out traveling. He will be in and out this holiday weekend, so he will be here at times. Not today, but don't despair. He's got a hot take that he recorded last night. We're told that it's very in-depth. We're not quite sure. I think Declan might know. I don't know too much about it, but we'll get to that. Hot takes. I've got a pie chart that's been cooking all night. I fear it's burnt. I fear I didn't do a good job.
Oh, no.
It's a lot
Stella
of pie,
didn't help you?
No, Stella did not help me. Stella said, peace out. I'm going to bed. Too bad. And then, of course, nitpicks. But before we start the show, let's talk about our friends at Quick Trip, because Quick Trip, well, it's the place to go because it's a grocery store, but it's a convenience store. How can it be both? You say, Sports Dad, I don't get it. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it is just easily the best place to go in town if you need, well, let's talk about it. A snack, yes. A beverage, yes. But also breakfast, lunch, dinner. You know what? It's getting cold outside. It's cold. So the gasoline tank's getting towards E. You don't want that. You want to keep that gas tank full. Quick Trip. You could take care of that as well. Look at all of these delicious offerings, and also give the gift of Quick Trip if you are trying to find a late present for family or friends with a Quick Trip gift card. Pick up one in store or online at quicktrip.com/gift cards. Do that, and or also pick up one in store. They do a fantastic job. Adam says Phil taking a Tuesday off as well. Yeah, I believe he is. Is that correct, Declan?
That'll be correct.
Phil not working on Tuesday. The ultimate irony.
Yes, very true. We'll have, so hottest takes, obviously, today. Little programming update for you for the rest of the week here on Purple Daily. Before I Die, we're going to have AJ being a spot starter for Ross on that show with Miles and Jesse. That'll drop tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we'll have a pigskin pecking order as you're opening those presents, getting those stockings, starting your Christmas morning with a pigskin pecking order. That'll drop on Wednesday of Christmas Day. We'll have a Thor's Day still on Thursday. And then this show itself will be back at full strength on Feedback Friday, Purple Picks, and an amazing event line after Vikings and Packers next Sunday. So that's your schedule here on the PD side of things. On the Minnesota Sports, Mackey and Judd things, we'll have some sporadic episodes. We'll have Flagrant Howls today. We'll have some weekend statements. We might be able to squeeze a scoop. And we're working out some details there still, but we'll still have Purple Daily locked and loaded for you all week here on the holiday week.
Outstanding. And also, keep in mind, the NFL reserves the right through tomorrow to move the Vikings game, not to a night game. That's not going to happen, but to a late start. So if you have tickets or are planning to go or just care and are going to be in and out when it comes to the news cycle this week, that game might be moved today or tomorrow to 3:15. So that is I think right now, I think it's a very good possibility that the 13-2 Vikings taking on the 10-4 Packers gets moved to a late afternoon start on Fox. Should we get to the hottest takes?
Let's do it.
All right.
You're gonna lead us off here. You're that lead off here for us on the hottest takes.
I'm very impressed. I actually said this on the show yesterday, and I will now come back at it with a hottest take with a fastball. So I'm gonna gas up the fastball a little bit and give you guys this. The Vikings game against the Packers on Sunday will be a tougher game, will be more important as far as being difficult to win than the game against the Lions in Ford Field the following week. I think the biggest obstacle is the Packers game. Why? One, Detroit decimated injury-wise. Now, they won yesterday at Chicago, but the Bears, look, the Bears pulled the same stunt here that they did yesterday. They're so checked out. In fact, I saw a great post-game with a Bears player yesterday, and the reporter liked to ask about, are you looking to get back for training camp? Prove yourselves again. And he he said, no, I'm looking forward to going on vacation. Well, when you say that, that means you're already on vacation. So the Bears don't care. The Lions now get San Francisco, which has been eliminated from the playoffs.
Yep.
I don't necessarily think they're going to roll over as badly as Chicago did, but once you're done, you're sort of done. And football's a brutal sport, so once you're done, there's not a lot of incentive to go out there and get hurt. So we very well could see a Niners-Lions game in which some Niners players, and by the way, that's Monday night next week, are making business decisions. And I really believe that the most daunting game for the Vikings, because while Detroit is playing a team that's been eliminated from the playoffs, the Vikings are playing a Packers team that's ascending and I think really good. Mm-hmm. So I really think that is the toughest game, because when you get to Detroit, if you both go in there with the same, or if you both go in with a chance for the Vikings, I should say, to clinch not just the North, but the entire conference, the number one seed, you're going to do it against a Detroit team that's down, last time I checked, 16 players on defense. 16 players. So we're talking Darnold, who is not going to win it, but he is in the MVP conversation. Justin Jefferson, Addison, Aaron Jones against the team that is basically defensively playing with backups and guys that came off a couch from, let's say, a month ago. So I think, Declan, that the toughest game, the game that I don't want to say I fear, but I think is going to be the biggest obstacle, is actually the Packers, not the Lions.
So basically, what you're saying is the toughest road for the Vikings starts on Sunday at home for Minnesota against Green Bay. That's the toughest test. I think
if we are talking about a parking lot with speed bumps,
sure.
I think the biggest speed bump is the Packers right now. And that's no disrespect to Detroit, but I think that the Vikings offense can actually excel against Detroit. The Packers are far healthier. Jordan Love is playing well now, and Goff is good as well. But yeah, I do think that. I do think that the toughest obstacle, the remainder of the regular season for Minnesota, is next week downtown against the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, this is Purple Daily. This is not Cheese Daily. This is not Packers Daily. You want those podcasts for whatever reason, you go subscribe and support those.
Nagler's great. So
I love Nagler's my favorite.
Big Nagler fan.
Love Cheesehead TV. But I will say that when Mackey did his quarterback rankings, it had Jordan Love 18th, 17th. That's far too low. Jordan Love is a very good quarterback. Yes, we can poke holes at how the Packers decided to draft him, not play him, develop him, pay him a bag that's absurdly high, and that's only going to get higher going forward. All those questions and all those problems are valid. But Jordan Love can play, and Matt LaFleur can coach. That's a good Packers team. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be legitimately one of the more fun Vikings-Packers games I've ever can remember. Hopefully it goes well for the Vikings, too, obviously. Their last regular season home game at US Bank Stadium. Hopefully it's not the last home game for the Vikings in the 2024 season, but we'll see. I have a similar hot take for you, and then we'll get to Phil Mackey's take via satellite. I have a similar take, not necessarily related to the Packers and this Sunday's game, but here's my hot take, Jeb. The Vikings can beat any team, anywhere in the NFL playoffs, even if they have to go on the road. I don't care if it's Tampa, who just got beat by a checked-out Cowboys team, by the way, on Sunday Night Football. Mike Zimmer in his bag last night, by the way. I don't care if it's in L.A., Atlanta, Philly, Detroit, even if they somehow have to go to Green Bay and Lambeau Field in January. I think this Vikings team can win anywhere, any place. Give me the time, give me the place. I am not scared of that anymore. Yesterday's win against the Seahawks clinched that for me. Mm-hmm. Seattle isn't the best team in the NFC. They're not those teams I just listed above. However, that was a playoff environment, man. That was a playoff game. It was lack of execution. There was sloppiness at times. It was imperfect performances, blown leads, lack of that execution, weird weather. Didn't matter. The Vikings found a way to win. And when you have a head coach who's remaining calm in those situations, it's the same thing we use when we talk about flight attendants in the event of turbulence on the airplane. I look at the flight attendant. If they're freaking out, I'm going to start freaking out. You have a quarterback who is shaking off a bum ankle and delivering a dart 40 yards down the field to the best wide receiver, by the way, shutting down all that noise and environment to walk away with the win. You have a kicker. Your own kicker is hitting 50-yarders, no problem. Opposing kickers aren't even hitting their field goals against the Vikings. This is why, man, I'm telling you, this really does feel like a team of destiny, and I'm not trying to count the chickens before they hatch, but like I can't remember the last time all these good things are working for the Vikings. Some people like to use luck as a negative description against a team's Super Bowl chances. And the Vikings certainly, and there's luck factors involved on PFF, like they have been a lucky team. And I don't think that should be negative. If you have been bad luck all season, you know it, you see it, and you're just like, this doesn't feel like the year. When you go into Seattle and you have a performance like that, that clinched it for me. I think even if the Vikings do have to go on the road and they still control their destiny for the number 1 seed and home field advantage, I'm not scared. There's no one on the road that scares me if I'm a Vikings fan if I have to get to the Super Bowl.
I don't disagree. In the conference, no. In fact, cheap plug, got up early this morning, sat down, and did a little something for the Judd Zolgad Substack.
Okay.
In which I wrote about the fact that, and this might, to some of the comments I saw about your hot take just now, this might seem like the jinx, but there's a lot here that feels different, and it starts with the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, and now it's 2024, so we get access, and there's been 13 of his post-game speeches, right? But when you see the overall belief that this dude has had with this team, and it doesn't feel contrived, it doesn't feel like he's acting and he doesn't really believe, which is why I think that you can go into a place where you haven't won since 2006. You've lost 5 consecutive games, all types of flavors, right? Like you've lost heartbreakers there, you've been blown out there. But at the end of the day, when you can go there and you lead or are tied the entire game until 4:26 left or so.
Yeah.
And then you go behind and now you trail. And that's it. Like that previous Vikings teams in Seattle, that is it. We are done. We're going home. This sucks.
Yeah.
You not only come back down and score, but you do it within 30 seconds of game clock time. Mm-hmm. And you do it with a quarterback stepping up huge. And, that touchdown pass to Jefferson, Dex, between Darnold and Jefferson, I mean, that was just a big-time play. Darnold's about to absolutely get killed. He throws with no foundation. Jefferson, to your point, to Phil on Ventline yesterday, adjusts his route completely.
Right.
Again, how many times have we seen Addison and Jefferson adjust routes? Like they literally are in midstream and they turn back around and make a play. Yeah, I'm with you. A kicker that is going to make his kicks. Look, some of this, we could talk about good fortune and luck. And I believe in sports that plays a role. But I also, to use a cliche, believe that you make your own luck. And these Vikings, Declan, have been making their own luck basically all season long.
Yep.
So like the kicker, Myers misses a 60-yard attempt, but you know what? That's also born of the fact of how you played. The fact that you forced them to try that.
Yeah.
Those are the type of things where, I don't know, I might be completely pie in the sky and in a month could come back and say, well, I was wrong about that, but this just feels very different. And I agree with you. I don't know that there's a team in the conference on the road where I'm like, oh, you are dead there.
Yeah, no, there isn't. And I don't love blowing a 10-point lead on the road. It's like that wasn't ideal. There was things yesterday that were obviously a little wonky, but it came down to the Vikings not freaking out and not bleeping down their leg, which this franchise has an historic history of always doing. So, yeah, if they have to go into, I mean, man, if I still think the number one seed's in play, and yes, that's the preferred method. Get the number one seed and/or figure out a way to still win the NFC North. I don't know if there's a path the Vikings split these next two and don't get the one. Like I think they still have to win out, right? Like there's weird
yes,
things.
If they win out,
still...
they get it. But Detroit, so and they have to beat Detroit because Detroit holds the tiebreaker on, or would then hold the head-to-head tiebreaker. So yes, they're going to have to win these two games, which I think that they could do. But I also agree with your point, which is I don't think they're dead if they have to go on the road.
And look, again, not trying to get too ahead of ourselves here, but like short of the Rams, which will be a fun matchup if that happens on Wild Card Weekend. Like if they have to go to Atlanta or Tampa, like especially with the egg that Tampa Bay laid in Jerry World yesterday. Like Baker's been great, and I like Raheem Morris, but like the Vikings, I think would be favored in that game. If they went to Tampa Bay right now, at the worst, it's probably a pick 'em. Like I don't see a path where even if they have to go to Tampa or especially Atlanta at this point, where the Vikings wouldn't be favored in that game.
You know what? The nice thing is this. Wherever they go, I think that they would have a good chance and that you wouldn't feel like, oh boy, it's the Vikings. It's something catastrophic. I mean, the question is this, and it's such a sad question. Can you avoid the catastrophic? Can you avoid ripping people's hearts out? And I have a feeling that the way that this team is constructed from a mental standpoint, the answer to the question is yes. Now, I might be, again, totally wrong there. But it's not one of those things. It just feels like O'Connell has these guys buying into something that doesn't feel very Vikings-like. And I say that in a really good way, not a bad way.
All right, so let's get to Phil's hot take here. He pre-recorded this last night, loaded it in. He did tease us that it was about Sam Darnold. So we do know that. It's about 5 minutes too, by the way, for the YouTube audience and audio
take a break
listeners. So Judd,
Bye.
if you want to take a break, go ahead and do so. I don't think I brought my phone up here. Not that matters, because I'm having
Whoa,
a great
you don't have your
conversation
phone?
with you. But I'm always terrified that something was going wrong behind the scenes, and now I don't have my phone. So I might do that, but I don't know. Let's listen to Phil's hot take.
I'll listen
We'll
to the
get to
whole
a
thing.
pie chart. We'll get some nitpicks. All right, let's see what Phil has to say.
My hottest Vikings take after a big win in Seattle yesterday is presented by our friends at AG1. All right, if you're looking to fill some nutritional gaps, AG1 is trusted by top athletes all over the world. It's a simple and comprehensive foundational nutrition supplement for whole body health. Each scoop of AG1 or each travel pack contains whole food sourced ingredients that support gut health, immune health, focus, and a lot more. If there's one product I had to recommend, especially during the holiday season where it's easy to maybe get carried away, not being on track with your nutrition and your health, AG1 is here to help elevate us. And that's why I've been an AG1 proponent for, going on 8 years or so. So if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1 year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs, just like these with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/purpledaily, drinkag1.com/purpledaily, and check it out. So, all right, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When the Vikings were trailing with less than 5 minutes to go, I had a couple irons in the fire for hottest Vikings takes. And one of them was if they would have lost that game and maybe it ends with like a devastating interception or something, which it did for Seattle. One of my hot takes on the other side was this was the last game the Vikings will win all season because you got Packers coming up. You've got the Lions maybe for the number one seed, whatever. And then you might wind up playing a road playoff game at the Rams, at the Buccaneers, whatever it may be. But we're back off from that ledge. And my real hottest Vikings take is I don't want the Vikings' first Super Bowl championship to happen with J.J. McCarthy. I want it to happen with Sam Darnold. And that's not a slight on J.J. McCarthy, who I think may wind up being, I'm really high on him. And I think he may wind up being the first actual long-term franchise quarterback this team has had since Tommy Kramer or Fran Tarkenton. But if you think about this, and we touched on this on Ventline yesterday, For 40 years, we have lamented the lack of a franchise quarterback for the Vikings. We've been paralyzed by it in a lot of ways. Fans, media, where you're looking at other franchises with envy and jealousy. Boy, if we could just have what the Packers have, right? 30 years of Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Man, how lucky are the 49ers? For 20 years, it was Joe Montana and Steve Young. The Patriots had one guy for 20 years, Tom Brady. Did you just get Tom Brady for 20 years? Boy, why can't we have that, right? Like, if we only had that, and we've been saying it for decades around here. But that's not who the Vikings are. This season is a microcosm at quarterback for who the Vikings are, which is one of the most winning franchises in NFL history, mostly with short-term and random one-off starters. And we've gone through the list a million times on the show about, the Sam Darnold having the 98 Randall Cunningham season or the 09 Brett Favre season. But Sam Darnold literally represents 40 years worth of short-term and random one-offs. Sam Darnold represents the Jeff Georges. Sam Darnold represents the Matt Castles, the Sam Bradfords, the Case Keenums. And so I think there would be no more fitting way to win the first Super Bowl in franchise history than to do it with a random one-off guy in Sam Darnold. That's my hottest take. All due respect to J.J. McCarthy, I am a J.J. McCarthy stan. But it would only be fitting for this particular franchise to do it in the way they're doing it this year. For Sam Darnold to finish the job that Randall Cunningham couldn't in 1998, that Brett Favre couldn't in 2009, and that Case Keenum couldn't in 2017. I want to see Sam Darnold do it. And then, by the way, ironically, then there's a big discussion after that. Is he really a random one-off guy? If he's the one hoisting the Super Bowl trophy, do you just sign him long-term? And we can have those conversations. Those are great problems to have. But that is my hottest Vikings take here on a Monday. Happy holidays to everyone. I'm traveling to be with some family the next couple days. Love you guys, Purple Daily audience, Judd, Declan. This whole community is incredible. And I think this season and the vent lines that we've been having all season, yesterday was a blast. This community is amazing. And I hope you guys all have a good time. Be safe. Looking forward to catching up on Judd and Declan's hottest Vikings takes once I fire up the YouTube later on. See you guys.
All right. I mean, I'm not surprised. He has, and going back to training camp, we talked about this, right? Like, Darnold is another sort of poster child for the history of this franchise, going back to really the Denny Green years, starting with guys like Jim McMahon, eventually Moon, who was far more accomplished. But you know what, too? He is right. You get to a Super Bowl, you got a big discussion about this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like that's the one thing. And, I think the one thing we can't sleep on, full credit to Sam. Sam has done a fantastic job. He's been great. But I think the one thing that we can't sleep on is the fact that you have a head coach who did what no one else before him could do. Now, Kyle Shanahan gets some credit here. He was not ever going to start Sam because during Sam's year in San Francisco last year, Brock Purdy's the starter. But that being said, he gets some credit here. But it's only some, because Kevin O'Connell is the guy that trusted this guy to play. Kevin O'Connell is basically, as I wrote this morning, he has brought this guy back from the quarterback graveyard.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold's career was really destined to be a backup, and he was finished. How many guys do you think now, Dex, and I'm talking about talented guys that failed, so I'm not, not the JDBs, but the actual talented guys. There have been a long line of guys that have been high draft picks at QB and have failed. How many watch this and think, oh my God, that could have been me?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what's so impressive is he's been able to just, and he's done it, with like at times with the Mullins and the Josh Dobbs, and I know Phil throws out the number of all those quarterbacks combined, and largely still that comes with Sam Darnold's success this season. but he's a quarterback whisperer, and he's just unlocked him. I mean, when you watch Darnold play, it's not fluky. Now, Darnold does have to be careful, and I also think his representation and himself and Sam know that they have to be careful too. They're not just going to take a bag from Oakland and get a huge payday this offseason. I think he's going to be very selective, and he should be. He knows now what it's like to be in the right infrastructure, and I don't think it's necessarily Sam just knowing, like, I can repeat this at any place. He knows better than that. So I've been very impressed with what I've seen, and I'm not saying I don't care who the quarterback is that gets the Vikings the first Super Bowl win, but if you guarantee me it's this year and it's Sam Darnold, and then we have to figure out a JJ McCarthy problem down the line, those are all gravy. Those are good problems to have, man.
So I'll give you the O'Connell thing, though. There's a little bit of, so this does not mean that he can fix everyone. So the reality is this. The perfect example, and he's a backup for a reason, Nick Mullins, okay? Kevin O'Connell, if he thought, you know what, I can take Nick Mullins and turn him into a starter, would be a starter here. The reality is Nick Mullins and his style of play doesn't allow for that. Like, Darnold is the perfect storm. And what we're seeing now, and I'll continue to bang this drum, is why the Jets drafted him with the 3rd overall pick in 2018. We're seeing now what this guy had talent-wise. His talent never left him. Like it did not, he has not, like, found talent. This is what scouts saw. The reality is the coaching and his own decisions, which O'Connell is now far more responsible for, are the key. But don't forget, O'Connell is the guy, too, who in the spring, I believe he was speaking to a church group in Plymouth. And I don't think he thought he was being recorded, but he was. O'Connell said, I am known in the building at TCO as the quarterback killer. So he literally has a list. And like, Kevin is outwardly incredibly positive, but he's also inwardly, with the franchise, incredibly realistic, okay? So he will look at QBs and say, I can play that guy for a while, but we ain't going to win consistently. And Darnold, what they've done is they have managed to, and I don't know if they saw this initially or it just became a thing, they, for lack of a better term, they have been able to coach the dumb out of him. The Mullins YOLO lifestyle of quarterback play, which is, I'm about to be sacked, oh, F it, I'll throw it up, right? O'Connell can't work with that, and he knows that. So this is a very interesting discussion because O'Connell collects QBs, but he collects ones that he deems to be cars that can be fixed, that were high end.
Yeah.
So, like, let's not get confused and think, okay, you know what? You bring in the next guy. Now, Daniel Jones is an interesting one. He is another high draft pick, and he's not here by accident. But the point is, like, this is not, okay, you play Dobbs, you play Mullins. Who cares who you play? Kevin O'Connell looks at that and says, oh, no, I care very much. But if I get a draft pick or if I get a guy who is flamed out, but I'm convinced that I've seen enough, I can fix him. So this is there is something to keep in mind here about where he draws a line. He's not going to tell you what that line is publicly, but I guarantee you there is a definite line there. And it's why, like with Dobbs actually, Dex, if you go back, he actually thrived far more when he and O'Connell, like that Falcons game, were essentially making it up as they went.
Yep.
Like, that was different. The more that Dobbs actually started to play like Dobbs, the more that O'Connell's like, I can't do this. Right. So it's a very interesting situation, but don't be fooled. Kevin O'Connell does not believe that he can save the world. He believes he can save a few guys, and if he believes that he can save you, there's a very good chance now that he is correct.
We're going to get to a pie chart here from Judd in just a second, but a quick shout out to our friends at Underdog. Underdog promo code SCORE for a 50% deposit match. Even the current users, you might notice that you'll get some free plays, you'll get some tokens, you'll get some profit boosts. Plenty of awesome stuff at Underdog. You can still draft a new fantasy football team every week. Hell, when the playoffs start, you can still play and draft a fantasy football team each week for the playoffs. So Current users, love that you guys have signed up and are continuing to play Underdog. Keep sending us those screenshots of your wins. And then for the new users, if you'd like to get in, you can still do so with promo code SCORE with a 50% deposit match. Judley, holiday season coming up, and electrical work, whether it was hanging Christmas lights and now you needed to get some work done around the house. Who do they call?
They call 612-357-2604, which is where our friends at Finch Home Solutions, Cody and his team, pick up the phone and say, what do you need? You tell them, and then guess what? If you are watching this right now, you are seeing the Finch vans go out. They're going to get to your house in a jiffy, and they are going to fix any project, big or small. You know what? Sports Dad actually let them in his house. That's right. Not many people get in the Sports Dad's house. In fact, I don't think Declan has been in my house.
Yes,
but
I can
Finch
ship
Home,
things to your house, but I can't go to your house.
well, you drop stuff outside
I've
of it,
dropped
which is
off stuff.
yeah, which is fine. But Finch Home Solutions came into my house, a couple of projects, including a downstairs light. Guess what? Fixed instantly, professional, courteous, and absolutely outstanding. Finch wants to do two things. One, they want to make sure that you're satisfied. And two, they want to make sure that your home is safe. Electrical fixes are not DIYers. They need to be fixed by professionals, and Finch, they are the best in town. Again, 612-357-2604, or check out their website, finchhomesolutions.com, finchhomesolutions.com.
How many pieces of pie did Chef Zolgad burn in the oven here?
A lot of pieces of pie, and I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of going back and checking my math.
Oh, yeah.
Because Declan and Judd, one thing, my sports son, we're both terrible at math. Phil's good.
Legitimately, when I do the pie chart, and it's sometimes hard to get the pieces of pie because I gotta give out this slice and I don't know how much to give out. I do the math no less than 12 times. Like,
really?
I added up at least 12 times.
I did it 4 times.
And even like during the show, like when it's my pie chart, I am still PTSDing as I get up to the pie chart. Is this still correct?
Yep.
And I'm like typing it in my phone 5 more times during the show to make
doubting yourself constantly.
Yep.
Doubting yourself constantly. Yep. We actually have 9 slices of pie. 9 slices of pie, and I'm going to warn you beforehand, Kevin O'Connell not included, because you could include him, and I think I talked about this in like week 5. In like week 5, you could include him every week, and so I'm going to have 9 slices of pie divvied throughout the roster of players that made a victory in Seattle, the first since 2006, after a 5-game losing streak against the Seahawks there. Possible, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I'm ready. 9 slices of pie.
Yep. 9 slices of pie. Let's start where we always do, at the bottom, and a couple of small smidges, just tiny little slices of pie here with some Cool Whip on them.
Cool Whip.
2% Theo Jackson. Theo Jackson didn't play the entire game. Harrison Smith was out. Bobby McCann actually started, the veteran safety who was called up from the practice squad, activated from the practice squad on Saturday. But Theo Jackson, who I've been raving about in Judd's training camp notes for 2 years now, did get some playing time, and he was the guy that picked off Geno Smith. Now, DK Metcalf ran the wrong route, but
it's okay.
Theo Jackson was there.
There to capitalize on.
And on a day where Griffin and Cashman dropped sure picks, Theo Jackson did not. It put an end to the game. There was no late comeback. There was no Russell Wilson-esque going down the field and scoring. Theo Jackson, 2%.
2%. I love it. Okay.
2% also goes to the guy that got the pick that set up a field goal, the guy who is emerging, I think, more and more. Still not playing a ton. That's okay, Dallas Turner.
That's all right. Yeah.
Young man, congratulations. Nice pick. And your contributions, it feels like he is getting more confidence, definitely contributing more. Dallas Turner, 2% as well.
Okay.
5% goes to a guy who had an enormous impact on the first drive, caught a touchdown pass. After that, not so much, but that first drive was huge because it did set a tone. Jordan Addison gets 5%. 5 catches for 35 yards and a touchdown. The first drive, 3 of the 5 catches.
Yeah.
26 yards, so he only had 9 thereafter. But that first drive was enormous because that first drive sort of served notice of the way that the Vikings were going to play.
Yeah.
And, if Seattle scores first there, we're all getting like, ooh, boy, here they go in Seattle. So incredibly important. It became the Justin Jefferson show after that. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm not going to penalize the guy that helped the Vikings get off to a good start and continues for the last month or so to play really, really well. Jordan Addison gets 5%.
Yeah, I thought he had a bigger day than what his raw statistics were. To your point, the first drive was very crucial, and he does deserve a slice of pie. Because at first when you said 5, I was like, he's got to get more than that. Then he kind of realized, even though he wasn't making, again, it's kind of like when Jefferson isn't making statistical impacts, he's making an impact still on the game. And Look, I've been a little bit of hesitant buying into the Jordan Addison stock, but make no mistake about it, like the Vikings have the best 1-2 punch probably in the NFL this season, one of the most effective ones in the league. And actually, I have a TJ Hawkinson statement that I will use on Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd. A little tease in the industry there, tease.
Your crossover episode.
Yep, little crossover tease. Stick
Very
around
exciting.
for that, because I almost used it as my hottest take.
Oh, you're going to cut him off.
I almost used it as my hottest take.
All right. I'm very excited. I'm curious. All right. We are now slicing bigger slices of Christmas week pie.
Ooh, all right.
We're going to give out 2 10%ers. The first one, Aaron Jones.
Yeah? Oh, yeah.
93 combined yards on his on touches, including 67 on the ground. Now, that's not a great day. So you're saying, Sports Dad, what the hell are you doing? But yesterday was a game in which you needed the run to exist. And Aaron Jones played a huge role there. It didn't have to be pretty. It didn't even have... This game showed as well. And it's funny because Seattle sort of took the Vikings approach, right? Which is, we're just going to pass. Pass. And it's like, no, in a game like that, you have to be willing to run. At times, at inopportune times, I feel like they abandoned, the Vikings did, the run a little bit too much.
Agreed.
But overall, I felt like they did a pretty good job of incorporating it. So, Aaron Jones, the veteran, showing again, one, he's a threat to catch and run. Like, I love, you have to have, in my opinion, in 2024, a running back who is an option not only in the pass game, also can hold up in pass protection. But Aaron Jones, 10% for not being great, but being incredibly solid in that game.
Yeah, they have to commit to him, and it didn't seem like he had a poor day, because he certainly didn't, but they had to rely on him at times, 18 carries and 3.7 yards per carry, but his threat in the passing game, and, I mean, man, if we talk about chain link injuries, like if chain reaction injuries, like if one injury happens, like if they lost Brian O'Neill, they're probably screwed. I would not feel comfortable in this offense with Cam Akers and Ty Chandler being the 1-2 new bell cow if they lost Aaron Jones. Like, he is just as important to this offense as anyone.
Yeah, well, yeah, his presence provides them something that O'Connell teams have never had.
Yeah.
You know, Dalvin was pretty good in 22, but he lost a ton of yards, and he just, I don't think he was the player that Jones is now. And last year they had nobody. So yes, he's been huge. So 10%, former Packer, going to play his old team on Sunday. Aaron Jones.
I like it.
10%, Big Leg Bill. Will Reichert goes into Seattle. House of Horrors. Plays an absolutely instrumental role. Makes all 3 of his PATs. And don't laugh, because remember, the crazy Justin Jefferson gritty taunting backed you up 15 yards. So that became a long field goal.
Right.
And also hit on field goals of 52 and 48 yards. Big Leg Bill, you know, if you have Vikings PTSD, a big part of it is the kickers. And Reichert is slowly but surely, knock on wood, eliminating that.
Yeah.
10%.
Yeah, he was awesome yesterday. I mean, he missed a month this season. Parker Romo was great. He filled in more than admirably. But Will Reichert, there's something about his, again, kicker demeanor. And I don't love kickers, but like his demeanor and his upbringing of legitimately practicing and being a kicker his entire life. I think that's huge. Like,
yep.
it's one thing because the psyche thing is it's not uncoachable, but like it's Ryan Longwell had that calming presence, right? Like Ryan didn't have the biggest leg, but he knew he had the confidence in his kicks, and I think that's also huge. Reichert was going to these kicking camps, and he was age 12. Yeah. He wasn't this random soccer player or walk-on that they converted into being a kicker like it seems every other player is. Yep. I think that demeanor is so important for him, and yes, I think regardless of how successful this Viking season is, it doesn't matter. We're all going to be holding our breaths every time he lines up to kick, and especially in the playoffs. That's natural. But his demeanor, I think, is very much different than your standard kicker.
The thing that I like, too, and I mean this in a super positive way, he has the demeanor of an assassin. like he's not phased. I don't feel like his heart rate moves.
No, yeah,
and you've seen kickers who you can see like the blood pumping. You can see the neck like, oh my God. It feels like Riker doesn't have another like where he gets excited. Yeah. He just seems to be flatline. Down to the haircut, he just seems to be a flatline guy.
Plus a dog named Vinny.
All right. Believe. Well, that's nice. Mm-hmm. So, full disclosure, I got to the end of the pie chart last night. I was doing the math, and I was basically a percentage point, I believe, off of what 100%. I could either go back and like redo it a bit, or I could just say, you know what, I'm going to pick a guy to give a really odd, and this is dangerous when it comes to math, odd percentage to, and I chose that. Andrew Van Ginkel gets 11%.
Wow, just 11.
11%. Yeah, there's a defensive player who I thought did more. But Van Ginkel, 2 sacks, active all day. He now, if I am correct about this, has a career high in sacks, double digits, correct, at this point?
Yeah.
2 more sacks. I mean, he and Grenard have been just absolutely fantastic. It feels like they trade off their sack days, but as far as their impact days, those just continue. So Van Ginkels, as our friend Randy from Cottage Grove calls him, 11%.
I believe the first player in NFL history, and first player in 42 years to have double-digit sacks and 2 pick sixes in the same season. And by the way, there's 2 games left.
And it should be 3, by the way.
Should be 3.
That Kirk, he had 2 chances at Kirk. God. The second one that he dropped on Kirk,
yes,
there was no one in front of him. Yep. And it would have been a long run, but that dude is athletic. He would have made it. It should be 3. And how delicious would a pick 6 have been against Cubs?
Man, I mean, we're going to do nitpicks after this, but I feel like my first early nitpick is only 11% of Van Ginkels. I'm curious to hear the rest of this pie.
Okay, fair enough. 15% goes to a guy who was everywhere yesterday. He's a guy who's going to get screwed out of a Pro Bowl berth because the league does not recognize his position because he basically plays every position. 15% goes to Josh Metellus.
Okay.
7 tackles, 2 QB hurries. He was everywhere yesterday. Absolutely phenomenal. And damn it, he should be in the category of rover because that's what he is. He plays everywhere. And the fact that they don't play the Pro Bowl now actually is good because you could put in a rover category for defense. This guy is positionless. This guy is, between his enthusiasm, his intelligence, he's a football savant. He's genius. The fact that he can pick up any role, and the fact that he is essentially one of the most important, like, heartbeat guys. Like, watch the the celebrations that they do after picks, fumble recoveries. That dude is in every one of them. He and Bynamar. Josh Metellus, man, I cannot say enough about a guy who was, a 6th-round pick out of Michigan, who was a special teams guy before Brian Flores arrived, and now should be solidly in the Pro Bowl. He is a phenomenal player and a phenomenal find. 15% to Josh.
And the Tell Us with Metellus, great little show he does off the side on the weeks leading up to games. Love the Tell Us with Metellus. Great branding too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Great branding there. Yes, he is awesome. I will take issue there. I think Van Ginkels made a little bit more of a positive, bigger impact than Metellus. This is why this is Judd's pie chart, though.
Yeah,
It's
this is
not
my pie
Declan's
chart.
pie chart.
My pie chart. I'm not worried about.
No?
I'm not worried about that. Josh Metellus going to 15%. No,
Okay.
Van Ginkels was good. If I was going to do anything, I would have taken some pie away elsewhere. But the reality is, everyone deserves a slice. It's Christmas week. They beat the freaking Seahawks. All right, I got two slices left. 20% goes to Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
10 receptions, 13 targets, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. Addison set the table, I think, on that first drive so Justin could feast. And feast he did. 2 touchdown catches that were gorgeous. The first throw actually from Darnold in man coverage for the touchdown was probably a better throw than the second. The second was great as well. But Justin Jefferson, just a huge day. Taunting, going back and forth with guys. I saw more jabbering in that game than I've seen in a long time, and I felt that Fox did a pretty good job of catching that. We'll get to nitpicks what they didn't catch because there were some things. But anyway, 20% goes to Jefferson. Phenomenal day.
Yeah, big day for him. I mean, that catch, I still keep going back to it because I went back and watched it. That catch where he does a full 360, Judd. It's not just like he was turning around and then like magically falls over for 6. If you watch the play, not just in slow motion, but in the real time, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that is it's already difficult to be an athletic wide receiver in today's NFL, and he makes something like that look easy. Plus, and maybe we'll talk about this too also on the Statements edition of Minnesota Sports, Mackey and Judd. His quote about how this team reminds him of the 2019 LSU team that won a national title, and that's one of the best college football teams of all time with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. The fact that he puts this team in that same vein, I don't look at that quote as a lip service quote. Jefferson's a very savvy, smart dude. He's not throwing that out there every year. He knows what it takes to win a championship. He did that in college.
Yep.
He's not throwing that quote out there for just because he wants to. There's legitimacy there, and I'm very excited to hear it.
25% to end this pie chart goes to Sammy D.
Slinging
Sam
Sammy. Okay.
Darnold, 22 of 35, 246 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 112.3 rating. Another great game. He is now in rare air when it comes to more and more statistical categories for Vikings quarterbacks. Phenomenal year, deserves a ton of credit. He's going to get paid, if not here, somewhere else. And look, on the play where he got sacked and face masked, and by the way, Byron Murphy, the second who
Yes.
plays for Seattle? He's the second, right? It's Junior
he's
here.
the second. Yes.
He's the second. Byron Murphy, the second. That was a face mask. You didn't brush his face mask. You grabbed it.
I think he knew it.
They got the call right, which
Yeah.
they didn't against the Rams. So, that call has been missed. Heck, it was missed against Burrow in Dallas a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the fact that Darnold's ankle on that play got twisted, he clearly got up hobbled, came right back, didn't miss a beat. That dude is tough. He gets 25%. That is an impressive display. And yes, I will continue to say O'Connell deserves a ton of credit here, but Sam Darnold could not do more. And look, the fact that the communication system went out in the second half on that one play, and O'Connell gave Darnold the personnel formation, and then it cut out because his battery pack cut out, which is very, as O'Connell said, weird. But that Darnold had the peace of mind then to run a play, and he scrambled towards his own sideline. Now, in retrospect, clearly knowing exactly what he was doing. Right. Because he clearly was like, okay, if I can't get the play through the communication device, I will scramble, because I can, to the sideline and talk to my coach there without burning a timeout. That's a lot of football genius right there. So, pie chart, 9 slices. Okay. Some of you like that, some of you don't. 25% to Sammy D. 20% to Justin Jefferson, 15%. Josh Metellus, he was everywhere. Andrew Van Ginkels, 11%. Will Reichert, Aaron Jones, 10%. Jordan Addison, 5%. And then small mini slices to a couple guys that got picks, Dallas Turner and Theo Jackson. And that is your pie chart.
Math checks out there.
Oh,
Math
yes.
Out there.
That's why I had to give the
double-checking
11%.
for you. Yep, 25, 20, 15, 11, 10, 10, 5, 2, 2. 9 slices of pie.
I told you I did the math
from
like
the
4 or
score
5
stat.
times.
9 slices of pie.
9 slices of pie. That might be a record.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, before we wrap up here on Purple Daily, we are going to get some nitpicks. Jed and I will exchange some nitpicks here before we wrap. Hit the like button, subscribe button. We got some pretty exciting news this morning that we crossed 10 million views on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. That just accounts for YouTube. That doesn't account for the downloads for our audio audience, who's also probably consuming this episode via Apple, Spotify, Score North app, however you get your podcasts. But 10 million views. I mean, we launched this and rebranded this about 4.5, almost 5 years ago, and we also had to learn on the fly a little bit. And to see this channel grow over 50,000 subs, 10 million views in a year. So thank you to the Purple Daily audience for making this happen. We're still a daily Vikings entertainment show. We're not going anywhere. Even on the Christmas week, we still have content pumping out. So very excited, very thankful for all the Purple Daily crew for watching, listening, and consuming Purple Daily.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, this has become more fun than I think any of us could have imagined at the time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like we love talking about the Vikings in sports, but the community here is just absolutely outstanding. So I will echo what Dex and Phil said in his tweet today, which is thank you so much. Should we get to nitpicks?
Nitpicks. I'll give you one.
Yeah,
I can start with one for you here.
Yeah.
Let's go back to, the lack of maybe commitment or maybe even sometimes execution when it comes to running the football. So that second half sequence there, Vikings are up 10. They get the ball back, 2 minutes left. And hell, even if they can get 3 points, it'd be great. But just don't give the ball back to Seattle. And instead, they go basically 3 and out. They're not able to run the ball effectively. The last sequence even, I wasn't bugged necessarily by the lack of getting the first down before they gave the ball back to Seattle to end the game. Like Sam Darnold takes the hit. Him going down.
He went down on purpose.
Which was smart. That keeps the clock running. It gave them 40 seconds less to play with. That's actually very smart.
Absolutely.
But their lack of execution and success running the football. I saw some of the PFF grades today for the offensive line. And, I mean, even Bradbury, whose only saving grace is run blocking, he had a 46 run blocking grade. He was by far the worst graded offensive lineman. In fact, he was the lowest graded offensive player for the Vikings yesterday. Mm-hmm. I know we like to nitpick Kevin O'Connell's lack of commitment to running the football, and that's part of, ironically, the pie. But the execution and the people that are in front of Aaron Jones, it's why they don't. It is why they don't do it as much. I do think they should do it more, but I understand this isn't just a play calling thing. This is a nitpick on all fronts, by the way, clearly, as you can tell. It goes much more beyond just calling a power run or an outside zone. This goes down to you don't have necessarily the offensive line that's the best at this. Aaron Jones is good, but he's not great. It's more than just play calling when it comes to effectively running the football.
Absolutely. And look, the reality is this. The interior, at least part of it, of the offensive line is going to have to be looked at and probably some changes made in March. Mm-hmm. And that means spending. Like this gets into, Dex, the whole conversation about do you bring back Darnold on what type of contract? The Vikings are going to have room. But don't mistake that for they can sign everybody then. And there are, the interior defensive line needs a stud. Now, some of this could potentially be addressed in the draft, but keep in mind the Vikings are draft capital poor. So, that's the discussion about at center. What are you going to do there? Perhaps at right guard. I don't think Reisner's coming back, and the fact that it finally happened where Ed Ingram just disappeared is a vote of zero confidence. Ed Ingram's gone. I don't know where he is. And I'm sure he's standing down there, but he ain't playing anymore. So there are some things here that definitely are going to have to be looked at long and hard. And yes, the interior of the offensive line is definitely one of them. I'm going to give you a nitpick that has nothing to do with the teams, and we talked about this on Ventline briefly, but it was the Fox telecast. I thought that Amin and Sanchez in the booth were great. I like them. Now, Sanchez is an acquired taste. I again saw notes. I can't stand him. I don't like him, and I get that. I personally thought,
I like him.
Well, I think he's got personality. He's fun, and he tells you things you don't always see. Like, that's my thing.
Yep. He's good at that.
In fact, my biggest complaint about Brady is he belongs in a booth. He does not belong in the number one booth.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't tell you nearly enough. And if a guy was a great teammate with the Patriots, okay, that's fine. I don't really give a damn. Tell me things I'm not seeing that you are. And he does it occasionally, but not nearly enough. But the Fox thing yesterday, the Fox thing that drove me crazy. And I think it was because it was the number 3 team. And I believe it was probably not a production problem, but a camera problem, which is they don't assign as many cameras to the number 3 game, was the lack of quality replays on 2 key plays in particular. One, the fake punt. The Seahawks fake punt, we got some view from like behind the line. They never came back and showed us a good view. Like, they never did. This is an NFL game. Show me what happened. They never did. And that's not, the spot, it would have been interesting to see a really good replay, Declan, with the spot. Like, where was that spot? But we didn't even get like a replay that showed us the play. No. It was some muddled thing from behind the line. It was very weird. It was very weird, and it was not professional. And the other one was the late touchdown catch that put the Seahawks ahead by the tight end. We got like 2 looks. They were very quick, and that was damn near not a catch.
Right.
And we never saw it. We never saw like a really good slowed down view, and I don't know why, but as a viewer at home, I mean, football is easily the best sport to watch on TV. But not in that case.
I know.
Like, the whole reason to watch it on TV is to have them come back and they're like, okay, here's the play. And my guess is that one of the reasons why the review in New York was so quick and upheld the touchdown was based on the fact that they had a couple of looks and that's it. Like, that should have been broken down. So my nitpick is not with the team. My nitpick is with the Fox team. Give me more. This is a really good game. This game deserved way more of a closer look from a replay end of things, and we did not come close to getting it.
No. Yeah, and Amin and Sanchez are great. I think Adam Amin's probably one of the more underrated play-by-play guys around. He does baseball, really he does football, and he's what I really like about him is he will lean on Sanchez when maybe Amin doesn't understand what's going on. Like, Sanchez, I remember, pointed out something about a special teams play or situation yesterday that same thing as a viewer. I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that. I don't know that. And the fact that Sanchez, who I know people make fun of him with the butt fumble and how his career ended, but at the end of the day, dude started multiple games. I mean, was in back-to-back AFC title games, beat Brady in a playoff game in New England. Like, he's not a complete just bust.
Yes, exactly.
But Amin leans on Sanchez when maybe he doesn't understand something. And in my opinion, as a play-by-play guy, that's the best thing you can do. If you don't know what's going on and you are fortunate to have a color person that was a former player or just has more knowledge of something, which is fine. I don't think you equally have to have the same knowledge. You lean on the other guy to bring the best out of the broadcast. And I thought both those two dudes, they're legitimately my favorite crew. I agree. Give me some more replays.
Oh, yeah,
the
replay
production value, some trucks in their cameras. I don't care what it takes. Yeah. But in terms of the crew, Amin Sanchez, and I believe Christina Pink is their sideline reporter too.
She's good too.
Yep, yeah. I think it's legitimately probably my favorite crew for NFL Sundays.
And what drives me crazy, and Amin does the opposite. What drives me nuts is the play-by-play guy that will never ask the question.
Correct. Yep.
Like, I know what I'm talking. It's like, no, dude, and it's fine. You don't. You didn't play the game professionally for years. Like, Mark Sanchez and any analyst worth their salt is there to tell you what you don't know, and that includes the play-by-play guy. And by the way, the play-by-play guy is not going to be fired for not knowing what Sanchez knows. Like, we in town have certainly had quite a few play-by-play guys that need to be the voice of authority. I mean, Corey Provis locally is marvelous at asking questions.
Yeah.
Corey Provis is great, and I love that because it starts up a conversation and a trust. But yes, as far as I would still like to see, you know what, Fox? If you have a view we didn't see of the fake punt and the touchdown, I would still like to see a decent replay of both of those because I still have no idea on either end, either what the hell happened or if it was a touchdown catch.
FL Crawford on our YouTube channel says you should have gave Amin and Sanchez a slice. I think because of the lack of replays, Judd wasn't going to give them a slice. But
no,
they do
Fox
deserve
couldn't get a slice. No,
Yeah.
Fox could not get a slice because of that. It's highly unfortunate. I would guess that we are not going to have that problem on Sunday, though, Dex.
No.
So my guess is that by tomorrow, Packers-Vikings is moved to a 3:15 kick.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time this season, I bet that we get Burkhardt and Brady.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that Greg Olsen is
the best.
superior to Brady.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that that's a good thing, but there will be no lack of camera angles when it comes to Vikings-Packers next week.
That's our hottest takes here on Purple Daily. You'll have a Before I Die episode that'll drop tomorrow on Tuesday's channel. I know that we typically record that on Mondays. We're going to move that to Tuesday on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Day, you will get a pecking order from Judd. You'll get his pigskin pecking order. We have Packers and Saints tonight on Monday Night Football, so the pigskin pecking order up in flux. We can't go premature on that pecking order.
No, Packers might move.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
yeah. If it was Saints and Jaguars, I think we could pre-record that one. We could do that.
We'd record it, yes, today.
So you'll have that the next 2 days here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. You'll have a Thursday. Judd Thor and I believe AJ Fredrickson will pump out a Thursday episode.
Yep.
And then us three knuckleheads, Mackey, Judd, and myself, back on Feedback Friday, back for Purple Picks, and then back on Vent Line for Vikings Packers. Going to be an absolute blast. So holiday weekend. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everyone here at Purple Daily. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. We have you locked and loaded for the rest of the week. Statements on Minnesota sports, Mackey and Judd also coming up on this Monday, plus a flagrant howls with Kyle Teige, who was at Lumen Field. Stay tuned for his state. Very curious to see what state Kyle Teige is.
His eyes might be beat red still.
Last thing, he told me, could we do 9 a.m. Pacific time? I would like as much sleep as possible. And I said,
Well,
yes,
that's
Kyle.
early.
We can do that for you. We
Trooper.
can absolutely do that for you. Yeah, go check out Ventline if you haven't haven't done so already. Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment. We just want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold before we die.